day, viewers, and welcome to another exciting Fiz Show episode. My name is Inutu Monga. I'm your host for today. Today we'll be having a very interesting and informative discussion about investments, particularly offshore investments. And with me in studio is Carrick, Zambia Managing Director, Mrs. Carmen Hachandi. Welcome to the Fiz Show, Carmen.
Thank you, Inutu. I must say you look beautiful today.
Thank you. You too, eh?
Oh,
you look
thank
very
you.
nice.
Thank you for having me.
It's an honor to have you.
It's all my pleasure.
I'm excited for the other episodes that are coming, where we're going to get into details about offshore investments, where we can talk to our viewers and educate the Zambians about the opportunities that are out there.
Yes. Yes, I'm equally excited, Inutu, and thank you for hosting this program today, and specifically on the topic of offshore investments. I think it's very important that we educate our fellow Zambians on the opportunities that are there in the international markets, and that can open doors for them. Yeah.
Please explain to the viewers who Carrick is and what your goals are.
All right, thank you for that question. Carrick Inutu is a regional company based out of South Africa, headquartered in Cape Town, has regional presence in Mauritius. We have 3 global licenses. In Zimbabwe, we're regulated and licensed there as well in issuing business. We are in Malawi as well. And now in Zambia, we've been in Zambia for 1 year now. We're also regulated and licensed in the UK, regulated by the FSA. In Zambia, we're regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. And our goal?
Yes. What are your goals?
Yes.
As Carrick Zambia.
Yes, I'd really like to share what the vision and the what we intend to achieve by the work we are doing here in Zambia and across Africa. We would like to change the lives of 100,000 African families so that they can live sustainable wealth. We want to play our role in building this nation Zambia, and the continent at large, by ensuring that people are able to leave wealth behind for other generations. I think we are tired of being the countries that are consistently considered as lower income countries, because we just can't sustain the value of the wealth that we're creating. Africa, as you know, Zambia, as you know, has many opportunities to create wealth. And that is why you see all this interest in investors coming to Africa to pump in money for projects, for different things, to create employment. But what we lack is the ability to preserve the value of the wealth that we're creating. And that's really what our goal is as Carrick. How do we help Africans like you, myself, and many others out there preserve the value of the wealth they're creating? How do we enhance the growth of this wealth in offshore markets, in hard currency, sustainably for the long term?
I'm sure there are viewers out there who would be excited and would be interested in investing offshore. Yeah. And before we go anywhere else, would like to find out where Carrick is located.
Okay, great. So currently we have an office here in Lusaka, and we are situated at the Standard Chartered building on Addis Ababa roundabout on the first floor. I believe it's called Addis Ababa Corporate Park.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And why should, I know you touched a bit on why you should invest, but on a broader view, why should Zambians invest offshore? Why offshore?
Yes.
Why not locally?
Indeed. Our entire proposition, Inutu, as you've rightfully put it, is offshore investments. So when you walk into our office, we are not discussing local investments with you. And that's purely because we appreciate the fact that you live here, you work here, and you have invested locally. What Carrick has done is identify inherent risks in the current investment models that we as Africans have engaged in. Real estate, local bonds, fixed deposits, and a lot of things. What we call these are wealth creation strategies that Africans are getting into. And there's nothing wrong with creating wealth. But what we're saying, in the long run, how are you preserving the value of the wealth you're creating? And that is why we are saying that there must be a balance. You can't have all your eggs in one basket. our proposition then is you should have around 40% of your net assets sitting offshore. This is to mitigate against risks such as political risk. I think you've seen most recently Sudan that there's been some uprisings and civil war taking place there. So imagine if all your money was in Sudan, in one country.
And let's not forget our neighbor Zimbabwe.
I think Zimbabwe is a very good case in point that you've brought up. As I mentioned earlier, the Carrick wealth is in Zimbabwe. We've been in Zimbabwe for quite a few years. And there's not a single Zimbabwean that saves in country because they've learned the hard way. They know what political risk can do to your assets. And so they have gone offshore. And what we're saying to our local Zambians is the responsibility to manage the risk, to diversify, to mitigate the impact of any adverse event happening is on you. You're the one who needs to leave a legacy for your family. You're the one who needs to live till you're 80 sustainably into retirement. How are you going to achieve that? You have to be able to mitigate the risks of inflation, the risks of currency depreciation, the risk of political risk. And these are the risks that we need to manage actively as individuals. How do I preserve the value of the wealth that I'm creating? And that's what we're really here to talk about today.
I had a little giggle when you mentioned property because we get a lot of those as almost the only investment that people look at.
Yes.
But I'm sure we'll get into details with that with the other episodes.
Indeed.
So what different investment avenues do you offer to your clients? How does one invest offshore? How do they go about to have the investments done?
Yeah, thank you for that, Inutu. So investment options are plenty. Just look at it the same way as you look at investments locally. What do you invest in locally? People buy property. Just mentioned property, which is Zambians have massively invested in a sector that's not performing, called property. You have your financial instruments such as your government bonds, your treasury bills, you have your fixed deposits, you have your mutual funds, your unit trusts, as you call them here. You have equities. You can buy equities directly or you can buy into funds. In the offshore markets, investment concepts are really the same, but it's really about what is the goal? What are you trying to achieve with your investment? Is it capital preservation? Is it growth? Is it diversification? And when we understand what your goal is for investment, then we will say to you, the appropriate investment offshore for you is probably buy property in the UK. If you're a long-term investor, you're looking for a good, easy return into retirement, become a pound landlord, for instance. If your goal is growth, we'll put you in some mutual funds. We'll manage the risk, of course. Put you in mutual funds where you can have some equity growth, some dividends, capital growth, those kind of investments. In offshore markets, in hard currency, in a jurisdiction where the fund is guaranteed and you're protected by the government of that institution. But also we're bringing tax benefits, not tax avoidance. We're talking about tax savings by being in a jurisdiction where the tax is very minimal, if not zero. Yeah.
And what makes Carrick stand out from its competitors? How are you different from your competition?
You may have noticed, Inutu, that we've taken a different approach to how we advise our clients on the investments that are appropriate for them. We're extremely focused on what the client need is. We will not throw products at you. We'll try and understand your current investment model, try and understand how well diversified are you, what are the risks inherent in the current investment model that you're carrying out. And once we understand that, we also try to understand your goals, your objectives. Is it future needs for retirement? Is it planning for kids? Is it succession planning? What are you looking for? Once we understand what your need is, we are in a better position to go out there in the world, in the markets, in the financial markets, internationally, find an appropriate, suitable service provider who is committed to serving your needs at a cost-efficient price, and then we bring that name to your doorstep. So we start by understanding what the need is for the client. So we have over 120 service providers that we can tap into their services and bring them to your doorstep.
Just going back to the same question, offshore investments always seem so sophisticated,
Yeah.
It's not for your average people. Who are you catering to? Who is your clientele? Who are you looking to tap into?
Okay. So a typical Carrick Wealth client would be one that's already well invested locally and sees the need to diversify, sees the need to question the returns they're getting locally and truly try to understand what the real value of these investments are. That's your typical Carrick client who has reached a stage where they realize that these investments are they really achieving the goals that I set out to achieve? Once you start to really analyze and look into these investments you've made locally and the returns you're getting and how sustainable these returns are in the long run, then you start to ask yourself a couple of questions around how sustainable is this investment that I've gotten into. We talked about property earlier and how there's a whole flurry of investments in property in Zambia right now. What are the returns people are getting? Once you calculate, what's your annual return? What's your yield on these investments that you've pumped in so much money? They stress you over the weekends. You can't do anything else. You don't have a life. It's tenants calling you left, right, and center. When you look at it and think critically, what am I getting out of these investments? And will they sustain me into the long term? Once you find answers to these questions, then you come to Carrick Wealth, and we'll be able to help you diversify out of some of these investments so that you can start to earn a real return that is reflective of inflation, of currency depreciation, and will sustain you in the long run. You asked me earlier what sets us apart from the rest of the players in the market. I mean, the level of service we give our clients. Once we onboard you as a client of Carrick's, you will expect the highest standards of client servicing. We'll do quarterly reviews on your portfolio, on its performance, and you have direct access to the fund performance. On your laptop, on your phone, you can easily check how your funds are performing because we've given you direct access through our platforms, Carrick Concierge, for you to be able to view all the investments you've made and how they're performing and all the valuations. We also take pride in the awards that we've won as Carrick. In the last couple of years, we've won Best Servicing, Client Servicing Advisory Firm, Best Advisor in the market. And these are prestigious awards that we've gotten out of our offices across the region and in South Africa, competing with firms such as Old Mutual, whom you know are the gurus of wealth management.
Thank you so much, Carmen. I'm really excited about the next coming episodes that we're going to have some real examples on offshore investments, some illustrations, some actual illustrations on how one can invest. But for now, viewers, that's it from this episode. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.